Welcome back to the NRL Punters Weekly Digest, coming to you live from my basement, but not live by the time it gets to you. My name's Ben, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at round 20 of the NRL Telstra Premiership for season 2021. But before we get into today's video, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, and there are some of you out there, I know that you're watching my videos, you just haven't subscribed yet, you're lazy, or you're complacent, I don't know. Or maybe you just forgot. And that's okay. Now here's your opportunity to subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications so you can stay in the loop of all the content that I drop on a weekly basis. And if you like this video, as per usual, please give me a like. I really appreciate the likes. Helps me raise my YouTube profile and then hopefully direct some more traffic to this channel so I can be further inspired to pump out more content for you. But without any further ado, let's get into this week's video, which is our round 20 preview of this year's Telstra Premiership. Before we have a look at the team list for this week, I just want to go over my tips for last week. 2 weeks in a row, I have tipped 7 of 8. 7 of 8. This week, I apparently didn't have enough faith in my own side, the Canberra Raiders, to tip them. I tipped the Eels to win that Thursday night clash last week by 10 points. Turns out it was one of Canberra's best performances of the year. We've put on 3 on the trot. Had I tipped Canberra, I would have tipped a perfect week. Egg on my face. Still, 7 from 8, 2 weeks in a row is pretty damn good. Let's have a look at Thursday night's opening game of the round where the Roosters take on the Parramatta Eels from BP Print Stadium in Mackay. BB Print Stadium Mackay. I'm guessing they're just a local business. I'm not quite sure. I think it's awesome that given all these COVID restrictions we're having nationwide, we find an opportunity to take NRL matches to regional centres in Queensland. I think it's a great idea. Last week, the Sydney Roosters beat the Knights 28-8. They were expected to win that game. They did concede the opening try of the clash in the 14th minute, but from there it was all Sydney Roosters traffic. James Tedesco had one of his best performances of the year. He was absolutely outstanding. Get this right. He ticked over 229 run meters. He had 4 try assists, 2 line breaks, 4 line break assists, and 7 tackle breaks. Absolutely outstanding. And for the Eels, as I mentioned earlier, they went down to the Raiders 10-12. It was a great game. To be fair, those 2 tries that they scored, I don't think should have been awarded. If you look at the replay, the first try was, I think it was more than a line ball, but at best it was line ball in terms of Dylan Brown being offside on the kick chase. In the second try, he was definitely offside. So as far as I'm concerned, the Canberra Raiders didn't concede any real points last week. Just to rub it in the face of Eel fans. But yeah, not their best performance of the year. Although they did come up against the Canberra Raiders side that's refound its mojo. And when it has its mojo, it's a top 4 side, let's be honest. All right, even though they're really down on troops at the moment. In terms of team changes for the Roosters, there's a bunch of changes this week. There are so many. Please refer to my team list graphic. That's what I make it for. For the Eels, Tom Opachik returns at centre, which pushes Will Penasini to the reserves. And Bryce Cartwright takes the interchange spot for the injured Murata Niokore, so he returns to the side. In the head-to-head market, you'll get $2.40 for the Roosters and $1.55 for the Eels. In the anytime try scorer market, I like Daniel Tupou at $1.95. The Giraffe, Joey Manu at $1.85. A lot of trade talk about Joey Manu this week. Could he potentially be going to the Warriors on huge coin, $1 million a year? He wants to play fullback. Watch this space. I think we could be seeing some movement any day from what I'm hearing. Micah Sevo, $1.65. Obviously, we know that Micah likes to find the try line. My tip in this game is the Roosters to win by 4. And if you like Roosters 1 to 12, it's $3.80 that you'll get there. I just think that based on what I saw last week, I think that the Roosters, unless the Eels can pick up their boots a little bit, I think they're really going to be underdone. And they've still got Jacob Arthur playing halfback for them this week. No disrespect to the young fella. He was really out of his element last week. He did not look like a first-grade halfback. Friday night, Tigers take on the Warriors from Suncorp Stadium. Tigers went down to the Seagulls last week, 24-44, but hey, they still managed to put 24 points on the board, which they should be kind of buoyed by. They were never really expected to win that game anyway. They did concede 48 tackles, though. That's not a great stat. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, it's not a great stat. Even if you're the Tigers, it's not a great stat. And I say that... I can't deflect by saying I say that respectfully when I'm blatantly throwing shade at them. It was terrible. It was terrible even for the West Tigers. For the Warriors, they went down huge to the Rabbitohs, 22-60. That pretty much closes the casket on their season. To add insult to injury, RTS, their inspirational captain and one of the greats of the modern game, has decided to pull a pin on his season a little early on. He wants to avoid the New Zealand Trans-Tasman travel ban that I believe is upcoming, and he starts his rugby union contract in October or November, so he wants to make sure he gets back before he gets blocked out of the country. I can understand that, but a bit of a strange spot to leave your team in. Technically speaking, I think there are 3 wins outside of the 8. They could technically still make the 8. Definitely not now as far as I'm concerned. In terms of team changes for the Tigers, heaps of changes for them. Please refer to my team list. Same for the Warriors, but the one notable inclusion to pay attention to this week is that Peter Hiku returns from a shoulder injury. He has not played since I think like round 6 or something. Get this right. Not only is he captaining the side, understandable given he's been around the first grade arena for quite some time. A senior New Zealand player in the international setup, you could say. But he's also playing 5'8". I don't think I remember Peter Hiku ever playing 5'8". If he did, I missed it. This will be very interesting. In the head-to-head market for this clash, you'll get $1.50 for the Tigers, and then you'll get $2.55 for the Warriors. It's a bit of a tricky one, this one, in terms of the betting. I mean, the odds aren't even, but, I think it could go really either way with these sides. In the anytime try scorer market, I like Dane Laurie at $2.05. Love this kid. Said it multiple times on this show. Big fan of his. Same with Adam Dewey at $2.70. I think Adam Dewey is just a pure footballer. Put him anywhere in a team and he'll do the job. I really like him. And sometimes I feel a little bit sad that he's playing at the West Tigers. I feel like maybe he would really blossom in an environment like, say, Melbourne, if they could find a way to fit him. And then, maybe come out of that system and be a superstar. Who knows? It's just me thinking out loud. I think that's what he needs. And Reece Walsh at $2.05. I mean, the guy pretty much scores a try a game. My tip in this game is the Tigers to win by 16 points. I think they're going to do the Warriors, even though they're not favourites in this one. And in the betting market... Oh, sorry, they are the favourite. What am I talking about? And in the margin betting market, Tigers 13 plus is paying $2.70. I think that's a good bet. Second game, Friday night, also at Suncorp Stadium, so they've got a double header going on there. Broncos, Cowboys, the local derby that we look forward to every single year. Usually a little bit more attractive because these sides are further up the ladder. Nevertheless, still an interesting encounter. Broncos will last start losers against the Panthers. They went down 12-18. It was a game they could have potentially won. The fact that they kept it that close against Penrith was, I mean, it says a lot about the progression of this Broncos side over this season. They're not very consistent, but you see enough glimpses there that there's a real football team in them. And you would have to think that they're only going to get better as they continue to play Kevin Walters' style of football, and they get some more players into the system over the next couple of seasons. Great effort by them. Brodie Croft would have been on the phone to Beyond Blue all weekend following that ridiculous botched try attempt where he could have just basically fallen over the line, but he decided to pass the ball to, I think it was Tom Flegler, and it was a forward pass. Cowboys last start losers against the Storm, 16-20. That was another really tight encounter. It was one that the Cowboys could have potentially won too. They were awarded a try at the death off a forward pass, which did keep the game close. Had Kyle Felt scored a little bit earlier in the contest, he knocked... he failed to ground a ball where he was being penalised. I thought it should have been a penalty try, but apparently they've changed the ruling now. I don't understand it because he scores any day of the week. They might have won that game with that try. Anyway, good effort from them. Good to see that just like Brisbane, they're starting to make some inroads and kind of build to something. What that's going to be, I'm not quite sure at this point in time. In terms of team changes for both sides, for the Broncos, Keenan Palacia replaces the suspended Tom Flegler in the starting pack, with TC Rabadi returning to the side via the bench. And Danny Levi, who we barely have seen any of this season, has been recalled to the 17. For the Cowboys, their 13 remains unchanged. I say unchanged to the team that was fielded in the loss to Melbourne. But Dejan Arce makes way for Ben Hampton, who returns from injury. So Dejan Arce returns to the reserves. In the head-to-head market, you'll get $1.77 for the Bronx and $2.05 for the Cowboys. In the anytime try scorer market, I like Tessie New at $2.05. Another player who's been linked with other clubs, apparently. I think he can command maybe a little bit more than what he's getting at Brisbane at the moment. That's another one. Watch this space. We're going to see a lot of transfers between now and that August deadline, whatever that is. I should know this, but I don't. It's in August. Herbie Farnworth at $2.50. That's a good bet. I like Herbie. And Kyle Felt for the Cowboys, prolific try scorer at $1.65. My tip in this game is Broncos to win by 7, and if you like them in that 1-12 margin, $3.10 you will get. Saturday, our first game comes to us from Brown Park in Rockhampton, where the Dragons take on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. Last week, the Dragons lost to the Titans. They went down 10-32. Their season remains on life support until at least this weekend, when they take on South. So they're still in 8th place as a result of some other results last week. For the Rabbitohs, they absolutely flogged the Warriors 60-22. There's not too much to say about this contest other than, wow, that was a lot of tries. It was 15 tries in that game. It was ridiculous. Sam Burgess, Jaden Sewer, and Josh Mansour all bagged doubles for the Bunnies. Reoccurring theme with South, though, they're still conceding way too many points in these games. 22 points against the Warriors. They really should have iced them out and restricted them to a couple of tries. In terms of team changes for both sides, heaps for both sides. You're going to hear me say this a lot in this week's video, but the reality is we're 20 rounds into an NRL season. There are bruised bodies and casualties all over the place. So, and then, you add to that players being in and out of form and new players coming in to accommodate that. So there's a lot of changes this week. So please refer to my beautiful, or at least adequate graphics that I provide for you. In the head-to-head market, if you're looking to have a bit of a flutter on this game, $8.50 you'll get for the Dragons, which I think is about fair, and $1.06 for the Bunnies. In the anytime try scorer market, I've gone all Souths because I think it will be all Souths, and potentially they will put on 60 points in this game. Latrell Mitchell, $1.70. Cody Walker, $2.10. I really like that bet. I really like Cody Walker because when Cody Walker is 10 metres out from a try line and he's got that little jump in his step, he starts skipping around. He's like, I'm going to go through here. Stuff starts to happen. I really like that. $2.10 for him. And my man, Keon Kalua-Matangi at $2.60. Tell me that guy doesn't like to score a try. I think he's going to score a try this week. My tip, this week is the Rabbitohs to win by 30. And I'm going to say at least 30. It could be quite a lot more. In the margin betting market, if you like South 13 plus, you're not going to get great odds. $1.25. Maybe whack that into a multi with some try scorers. A halftime, full-time. I don't know. Second Saturday night game sees the Newcastle Knights take on the Canberra Raiders from Suncorp Stadium. This is the first game of a Saturday doubleheader at Suncorp Stadium. It's really cool. I know it's frustrating that all the clubs that aren't Queensland-based, all the non-Queensland-based clubs have got to play in Queensland for the foreseeable future as a result of COVID. They miss out on their true home games, etc. I know that the Storm and the Warriors have been dealing with this issue for the past year anyway, so it's not news to them. So it is frustrating that these teams can't get their home games at their home venues. But isn't it cool to be able to have, and it's not even Magic Round, to be able to have double headers at Cbus Super Stadium and Suncorp Stadium? I think it's just really cool. It's really cool. Anyway, that's all I had to say about that. Last week, the Knights went down to the Roosters 8-28. There really wasn't much positive to say about that game. Let me just refer to my notes here. So that's right. So the Knights opened the scoring in this contest, and then from there, they weren't able to score again until the 67th or 68th minute. Now they find themselves in a really precarious position where they're 2 points outside of the 8, and they've got teams around them that are going better, i.e. the Raiders, Sharks, Titans. And if their form slump continues, I think honestly, they lose to the Raiders this week, who are one of the teams they're competing for those two bottom spots for, 7th and 8th. If they lose to the Raiders, their season is over, because this is essentially a 4-point win for the Raiders. Raiders last week were great against the Eels. Both teams were very sloppy in the first half in terms of ball control, but they really tightened it up in the end. I think by full time, both sides were completing well over 80%. So that's a testament to both sides, really, not just Canberra, but also Parramatta, and that they were able to kind of clean up the ball handling side of things in the second half. I think, just referring to my notes here, sorry, I just got lost in my head. It happens every now and again. I get sidetracked by other thoughts. I get sidetracked by what I'm doing after this. You have my full and undivided attention now. Yeah, so what I was going to say is, even though the Canberra attack is looking a lot more cohesive than it has, I guess in the earlier parts of this season, if you can call it that, I still don't think we're close to our best, but we're kind of getting ourselves back there. Let's be honest. We're missing a major piece of this side in George Williams, who's a world-class halfback, and we've replaced him with Sam Williams. Now, I love Sam Williams, don't get me wrong. Will go down all time as one of the most loyal Canberra Raiders clubmen that we've ever seen. The guy's taken like a decade to get 100 first-grade games up, and he has sat on the sidelines for so many seasons whilst better players have taken up that number 7 shirt, and he hasn't complained. He's just been an ultimate team player. But when you're missing a world-class halfback like George Williams, it's really hard to replace that unless you've got a like-for-like replacement, which we don't have at the moment. Again, no disrespect to Sam Williams. He would probably admit the same. But the most pleasing part of Canberra's game last week was their defence, and the fact that they've rediscovered that staunch defence which has come to define them over the past few years. Canberra's historically always been good at scoring points, but we've gone through parts of our history where we've just leaked a lot of points. Last few seasons, that hasn't really been us. This season, obviously, we've leaked points, but it looks as though we're finding that again. In fact, we completed at 90%, in terms of tackles last week. We only missed 24 tackles. That's a really, really good effort against a top 4 side like Parramatta. Anyway, let's move on to the team changes. Right, both sides, a million team changes. Please refer to the team list. I'm not being lazy when I say that, by the way. All right, I'm not being lazy. I'm being genuine. You don't want to hear me rattle off names for 2 minutes for each team. You don't need that. You've got the graphic there. You get the idea, right? You've already seen the team list before you're even watching this. Let's be honest, right? Maybe you just watch this because you like to hear my voice. I don't know. Head-to-head market. You'll get $2.25 for the Knights, $1.65 for the Raiders. That's about it. That's about right. In the anytime try scorer market, Harley Smith Shields, my boy, $1.72. Get on him. Jack Whiten, $2.80. I am tipping this to be the game that Jack Whiten returns to form. You cannot tell me that he was in form in that New South Wales side throughout that whole Origin contest. I know they had a lot of success. They did lose the last game, yes. But he wasn't in form there. He is yet to get back to form. I am tipping this to be the week that he returns to form and becomes the Dally M winning Jack Whiten of last year that we've all grown to love and admire as a wider rugby league community because he's such a good bloke. Corey Harawira-Naira. I did it good, didn't I? Yeah, I did it good. $2.90. Corey's playing some outstanding football this season. I'm a big fan of Corey. He's doing what I thought he would do when he first came to the club, but he had, a few hiccups when he came into the side. And look, admittedly, the Raiders were just stacked for forward talent, so it was hard for a few of those players to get any consistent minutes. But he's playing really well. My tip in this game is the Raiders to win by 20, and if you like Canberra, then 13 plus, good odds there, $3.10. Last game of Super Saturday is the blockbuster of the round, and it very well may be one of the blockbusters of the year, albeit, both sides are missing some star talent. Nevertheless, it's going to be a blockbuster. The Penrith Panthers versus the Melbourne Storm from Suncorp Stadium. Second game of that Suncorp Stadium doubleheader. Last week, the Storm beat the Cowboys, just edged them out. They did miss 32 tackles, which is not overly terrible, but it's not great by Storm standards. Panthers beat the Broncos, obviously just edged them out 18-12. They did miss 69 tackles in this game. 69 tackles. It's an easy number to remember for a few reasons. But more specifically, it's an easy number to remember because you'd have to think this would have to be fried into Ivan Cleary's brain. I know he loves to play Mr. Nice Guy. Everything's just duck off a water's back in front of the media. It's like, yeah, oh well, whatever. But you'd have to think he's fuming behind the scenes. 69 missed tackles. That's some Bulldog stats right there. Team changes. Refer to the team list for both sides. Again, I'm not being lazy. Just do it. Head-to-head market, you'll get $1.13 for the Storm, $5.75 for the Panthers. And in the anytime try scorer market, Justin Olam, $2.10. Is he the best centre in the comp now? If he's not the best, he's top 3 for mine. It's either he or Joey Manu, I think, at this point in time. Remus Smith, $2.05. He likes to score a try. And Charlie Staines for the Panthers at $2.30. This guy's just addicted to scoring tries. My tip in this game is the Storm to win by 10. So I'm looking for that 1-12 margin, which will give you $3.20. Sunday, the Bulldogs take on the Titans from Cbus Super Stadium. Bulldogs, last start losers against the Sharks. They did manage to put 24 points on the board, so that's got to be, an encouraging side. However, they are still leaking a lot of points. Titans beat the Dragons quite comfortably, 32-10. And the feel-good story about this contest was Toby Sexton, the young halfback who debuted for the Titans, and in one performance did everything better than Ash Taylor has ever done at the Titans. Which, if you're Ash Taylor, it's got to be a little bit disheartening. But to be fair, he's been given every opportunity to be able to show his value and to demand to be re-signed. He's just not aiming up to it. Toby Sexton, some stats for you. He scored a try. He kicked 5 goals, which I think is a pretty good outing for a rookie making his debut and having to steer the park around. David Fifita, he also starred very heavily. He scored a try, set up a try. He broke the line twice. He set up a line break. He had a massive 13 tackle breaks, and he ran for 160 metres. Dave Fifita, at his best, can be just hands down the best back rower in the game. It's there for him. It's there for the taking. David Fifita, I have seen in real life. I stood next to him at a breakfast buffet line. Now, I'm 6'6". I know you can't tell because I'm sitting behind a desk, but I'm not small. I mean, I'm not, the muscular specimen that he is, but I'm not small either. And this dude is shorter than me by a few inches, but he has that kind of weird dynamic about him where it almost feels like he's taller than me. I'm 6'6". He's probably about 6'3", 6'4". But I felt like I was looking up to him. He's just a giant. He must be a menace on the park. I can't imagine even putting yourself in front of his body to tackle him. Team changes. Refer to the list. I'm doing it again. In the betting market, head-to-head, you'll get $4.20 for the Dogs, $1.22 for the Titans. Sounds about right to me. In the try scorer market, anytime, AJ Brimson, $2.05. Toby Sexton, I'm back in the rookie at $2.40 for a try. And the man I was speaking about with such admiration earlier, we'll say, David Fifita, $1.95 if you think he'll score a try. I think he'll definitely score a try. I think he may score more than one try. My tip in this game is the Titans by 14. So I'm respecting the Bulldogs here. I'm respecting the fact that they're able to put points on the board. We now know that. I think it's going to be around 14 points. And if you like that 13 plus margin for the Gold Coast, $1.85. Last game of the round. We're nearly there. Stay with me. The Sharkies take on the Seagulls from Seabus Super Stadium. From Seabus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast. Sharks, last start winners against the Bulldogs. We've already spoken about that game. They did miss 35 tackles. They shouldn't be too pleased with that, but they got the win. They need the wins at this point in time because they're playing for a place in the top 8. Seagulls smashed the Tigers 44-24. In this one, what is there to report? Morgan Harper had a hat-trick. I'm a big fan of this guy. Ever since he's come into their side, I feel like with him and Brad Parker, I honestly feel like that is potentially the best centre pairing in the NRL. I'm not saying that they're the best centres in the NRL, but one of the best, most solid centre pairing in the NRL. Morgan Harper scored a hat-trick, double to DCE. But yes, as I mentioned earlier, my note says here, but the stat Manly should be really concerned about is the 24 points conceded to the 12th place West Tigers. Amen to that. Team changes, heaps for the Sharks, refer to the team list, but I am going to give you the team changes for the Seagulls. It's the last game of the round. Curtis Sirinen and Carl Lawton return from injury. Curtis Sirinen, I feel like I haven't seen him in 3 years. And their return from injury pushes Josh Alloway, who was suspended anyway, and Sean Kepi out of the side. In the head-to-head market, you get $4.80 for the Sharks and $1.17 for the Seagulls. Anytime try scorer market, $2.05 for Morgan Harper. He scored a hat-trick last week. Can he score another one this week? I think so. Josh Schuster, $2.60. And Homoli Olakauatu, one of my favourites, $2.30. Come on, mate. Score a try for daddy. Moving on. My tip in this game is the Seagulls to win by 24. And if you like that Manly 13 plus, $1.58. That's been this week's NRL preview video from the NRL Punters Weekly Digest. Again, if you like this video, give me a like. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe and turn on your notifications so you can stay in the loop of all my content. I'll be dropping another video this week in a similar vein to my top 5 PNG NRL players of all time. That kind of flavour. Maybe it's another Pacific nation. I don't know. I guess you'll just have to wait and see. It's coming out later this week. I will see you in that video.